Okay, Thunder Bay, how you doing? We're not starting with a song this week. Normally I start with a song. This week, I'm not starting with a song. You're listening to the Sonic Blender here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. You can find us on the web at www.luradio.ca. You can find more about this program at thesonicblender.com. I invite you to check those things out. But since we're not starting with a song, gosh, that guy's got to be starting with something. Starting with a little chat with Lindsey Walker. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me here today.
No problem at all. I'm glad you were able to make it.
Yeah.
From goose territory in Wawa.
I was in goose territory. Yeah, just hung out with the goose for a day and. Just making my way across this beautiful province.
Okay, that's amazing. So,
yeah.
For those of the uninitiated, Lindsey isn't just a random person who walks in and sits down and chat with me. She is a musician in her own right, touring her newest record, This Desolate Bliss.
That's correct, yeah.
Fantastic. And you're just at the tail end of your tour.
I am, yeah. So I'm based out of Edmonton, Alberta, and I have been on tour for about 3.5 weeks now. Nice. And yeah, went as far east as Quebec City, Montreal. I don't really know which one's further east. I think Quebec City is.
Quebec City
yeah, okay, good. I'm still trying to get used to this whole territory. It's, it's a lot. There's a lot of space in Ontario and Quebec, There's just
3 days to get through this province.
Goodness, yeah. And thank goodness it's so beautiful.
Yes.
But it is, it is literally, like I drove through Marathon today, Marathon, Ontario.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly what this is. It's a marathon. Like you are just in it to win it. And yeah. So it's, I'm heading towards, I'm here tonight, obviously. And then I play in Winnipeg tomorrow. So I'm just continuing my journey back west. And,
excellent. Once you hit the Manitoba border, you fly through several provinces and you'll be home before you know it.
It's true, right? It's just like I can see Edmonton as soon as I hit the Manitoba border. I'm like, yeah, I know where you are.
It's the prairies. It'll take you 3 days to get there, but you can see it.
Exactly. It's maybe a mirage, but it's it's there in my heart.
Excellent. Oh gosh. So you are from Winnipeg originally, playing to a hometown crowd this weekend.
I am.
It's exciting. You currently hang your hat in Edmonton.
I do. Yeah.
What led the move further into the prairies?
Oh, well,
or towards the mountains?
Yeah, I guess slowly towards the mountains. So funny story about that. My end goal was to end up in Vancouver because I love the coast and I love Vancouver as a city. And I decided to go to school in Edmonton to Grant MacEwan University, but at the time it was a college. And I was studying vocal jazz, I guess. I'm not really a jazz singer, but it was a jazz program that I went through there, and I was like, I'm going to graduate from this program, and I'm just going to keep heading west, and then I didn't. I just stayed in Edmonton, and it's been wonderful. It's been great.
That's awesome. Well, you're a fixture in the Edmonton music scene. You're winning awards left, right, and center up there, I see. And
it's really awesome. I actually was given an award when I've been on tour. It was for my service to help make Edmonton a cool, awesome place, I guess, in very short terms. So I was awarded that, but I wasn't able to accept the award because I've been on tour, and then I've been nominated. This album that I just released late last year has been nominated for 3 Edmonton Music Awards.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Because Calgary gets so much credit for the Alberta art scene, but there is a lot going on in Edmonton, isn't there?
There is. Yeah. There's so much going on in Edmonton, and I like to think of Edmonton as like a little a secret doorway behind a bookshelf, right? Because people come to Edmonton and they're like, oh yeah, I went to the mall, I didn't really see a lot of shows, I didn't really do all this, but it's like if you go to Edmonton and you know someone there, it's like you will see the most amazing things. You'll go to the coolest bars, see the coolest shows, have the best food, but it's like we don't flaunt it. Edmonton's just secretive about it. I think
that's cool. It sounds similar to Hamilton. I went to school in Hamilton, and it was the same. The steel town, blue collar. Right. Everyone's like, all I see is smokestacks full on fire and stuff, and then there's such cool little underground music stuff going on, and just arts in general. I like those towns.
Exactly, I do too. Right, because there's something you
got to work for.
Wonderful. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to flaunt it. You're not going to drive through and just see all the cool stuff. It's like you got to stay there for a bit. You got to get to know some of the locals, and it's great.
Nice, awesome. What do you miss about? Do you miss anything about Winnipeg, and what does Edmonton offer to fill that gap for you?
My parents would probably just strangle me if I said I don't miss anything, and that wouldn't be true anyway if I said it. There are many things I miss about Winnipeg. Winnipeg. There's a small town charm that Winnipeg has, even though it's a larger city. Mm-hmm. I find that you feel like you know everyone in Winnipeg, and that's just because we're all just like living our lives the same way. And I think being in the center of like geographically in Canada, the center of Canada more or less, and kind of the middle of the road for a lot of drives and that kind of stuff. There's just a stableness to the city as a whole, and every time I go back, it's just like very much the same. And there's no, they're not tearing down old buildings, but they're not building new ones. They're, it's just like it stays the same, and it's just like the old standby, and I love it. And the history there and the art scene there is incredible. I love it a lot, and I'm always so happy to go back. And all of my family's there too, so it's really great to go back and see them.
That's great.
And the thing with Edmonton that I like that kind of not replaces but reminds me of Winnipeg is the fact that it's a larger city as well, but it still has kind of like that down home kind of sensibility to it. And then I meet so many people randomly when I'm playing shows or just out and about that are living in Edmonton that are from Winnipeg. And I feel like that's like the next step is people to go from Winnipeg to Edmonton just for whatever reason, and then they end up staying there for years and years. But nice. There's a lot of similarities there for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now tell me about your newest record. It's called This Desolate Bliss. Mm-hmm. It's been described as a cinematic apocalyptic journey.
Yes.
What makes it that?
Well, I didn't necessarily coin that term, but I do use it all the time now because I think it's super hip. The album. So I write predominantly on guitar, electric, or acoustic, depending on the situation. And I have an amazing band of musicians that play with me and that help me kind of bring these songs to life. And all of these songs that are on the album, the band, whether in the studio or just like in writing sessions, they helped create this sound, and I kind of guided them to the sound by limiting how they were playing, or just kind of like subconsciously like going in this direction. And I didn't really know it until I got there, but it's the album is sonically it has a lot of different layers and textures, and kind of weaves through ambient to psychedelic music with it never stays there for too long. It just kind of touches on those ideas while still maintaining like a strong roots rock kind of sensibility. So the way it turned out, I couldn't be happier with it. Like it's so perfectly it is an example of what I wanted, and such a great snapshot of my life at that time, and I still really connect with it as an album. So it's just it is definitely a journey. And I feel like I'm a huge fan of listening to albums. I love vinyl. I love listening front to back to an album. I think that there's a lot to be said in those, and living in this age where it's a lot of singles and a lot of like Spotify playlists and a lot of shuffle through or just play your favorite song kind of thing. I wanted to create an album that you could listen to from start to finish, and it kind of has an ebb and a flow and a bit of a story. And it's not necessarily a concept album where it like tells a legit story, but the feeling that you go on is a bit of a journey with
nice.
It. So
Sounds great. That's great, and it's a great sound, and it sounds as though it spans the range from soulful and sweet to brooding and really raw at times. And what struck me most, I think, is your voice. It carries both moods equally well. What have you done to hone your ability to span such a wide range of styles?
Well, so I did go to school for jazz, and the jazz program really kind of taught me to consciously use my voice and not just let it do its thing. So everything I did and all the tracks on the album were very conscious decisions in how my voice was going to be within each song. And when I first started singing, like I first started long ago when I was a kid, my mom put me in like classical musical theater kind of training, and I did a lot of theater and musical theater and stuff, and I still kind of do, which is great. But I have that kind of idea. And then I also, when I turned 18, I started singing in like rock bars in Winnipeg and singing like Led Zeppelin covers and Janis Joplin and that kind of stuff. And so I have that kind of rock mentality to singing, and I love that. It's like when I can just let go and rip on that, it's great. So I kind of was able to, in the studio and with the producer that I was working with, like just kind of seamlessly transition from those things without kind of taking away from the style of music that I created, right? So so there are some moments where I feel like I channeled like Robert Plant in a like, wailing kind of song, and I feel like I do have like a bit more of a quieter, intimate kind of sound, and that's, I was able to kind of explore all those in the studio, which was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you perform both solo as well as with a full band. Yeah. Do you have a preference for one versus the other? Or?
I couldn't say, because they are so very different. Like this tour I'm doing on my own. It's a solo tour, and it's so incredible to be in such an intimate environment playing music, where it's just me, and if I mess up or if I do something different, it's just like that's going to be a very unique moment in the show. With a band, it's a little bit different if you mess up or if you do something different, right? The band has to like kind of follow you, and it can be great or it can be a little bit strange. But I do really like the closeness that I can have with an audience, and really play, like really go on a kind of journey with the audience together when I'm singing and playing. And then with the band, there's just like so much power, and I can really let loose in a completely different way, which is really great. So my goal is to do, like, I do mostly tours on just solo tours, because financially it's a little bit more economical.
Easier, right?
Yeah, it's a little, with all the stuff I have in my car, a little hard to bring 5 other people with me, but but my goal is to be at a point where I can bring the band with me, and we can showcase the album a bit more kind of strongly that way. So yeah,
great. So your website offers an FAQ for people who are interested in hosting, presumably you, in a house concert. What do you like so much about house concerts versus a conventional venue?
Well, house concerts are, I personally think they're just like the wave of the future, because they take out a bit more of that middleman that's in between music and listeners. And it also allows listeners, but also forces listeners to actually actively listen to the artist. So when I go and play a house concert, most of the time, there are some times where there are some chatty people, but most of the time people sit down and they listen, and they're actively listening to my performance. And it's really a great way for me to honestly connect and not be sidetracked by anything else that might be going on in a venue. And in a venue, it's wonderful because everything's kind of all set up, and I just show up and get going. But it's like a lot of times there's people that are there not to see me perform or not to see a performer at all, and it just it doesn't take away from the experience for me, because I just play as if I'm playing for, like, everyone wants to hear me play. But I think for the listener, it's a bit more of a special experience when you can be at a house concert. And I think also it's just there's been so many music venues that have been closing, and there have been a few that I played on this tour that have said, like, oh yeah, we're going to be closing in a month, or blah blah blah, and it's really heartbreaking for me. And it's hard when you're in a city and there isn't really any other choice for a music venue, so having a house concert is really nice, because I can have that and connect with people, and also just create a really cool relationship with people. It's more you become pals with everyone, which is great. I love making friends. So
yours is the first website that I've seen with that level of, hey, maybe you've heard of them, and you don't know anything about it, but here's how to make it as accessible as possible for you, and here's how to do it, and here's how I can help you, and we can work together to create a really interesting experience for people, your friends or other strangers and things.
Yeah.
How's the reception to that been?
It's great.
Has people actively say, hey, you know what, that's actually a really good idea. Let's do it.
100%.
That's beautiful.
And there have been people that have contacted me and been like, I hear you do house concerts. I have no idea what that is. I've read your FAQs. I still don't know what's going on. Like, please help me. And then I just call them up, and then we chat, and it's like, it seems very daunting, and like a big deal, but it's actually not. It's just like as a host of a house concert, you get to hang out with your friends. You don't have to advertise it to the public. It can just be your pals, your family, you know, that kind of thing. You can have like people bring food, or you can make food for people, or you can order pizza. Like, it's so open. Or you can have no food at all and tell people that they got to eat before coming by. And then and it's like everyone sits and listens to music, and you can have it in your house, you can have it in your garage, you can have it outside. Like, I've had people invite me out to their cottage and do something for their like summer pals by the lake. And I've had people, you know, there was one I had where they were like, you know, we have an apartment, but we can do shows on the rooftop. Can you do that? And I was like, absolutely. Like, you know, and that's the thing. Yeah, just because it says house, it doesn't necessarily mean has to be in your home, you know? So, it's a really great thing. And I think, especially like solo artists or artists that are able to tour or play solo shows, I think they're really adapting to doing house concerts. And I think a lot of music fans are really starting to get into appreciating that model of show as a house concert show. So,
that's awesome. That sounds really cool. Now, you've said you enjoy writing about the darker sides of life. What did you mean by that?
So I'm a pretty like positive person and pretty like happy-go-lucky, but the things that affect me and the things I want to write about are always pretty sad or tragic or just things that we may not really talk about in our normal day-to-day life. And so I enjoy, and maybe enjoy is not even the right word, but I appreciate writing about them because I love talking, as you could probably tell. I love chatting. I love talking about things. But, you know, talking about things that are a little bit more darker or sadder or affect us more deeply, usually it doesn't happen that easily. So I like to write about it because then it's a way to connect with people that might be feeling certain feelings that they don't want to talk about, but they can at least listen to my music and connect in that way.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Now, you're playing the Foundry tonight.
I am.
What can people expect to see if they haven't seen you live before?
Well, so it's I've been told many times that I should be a stand-up comedian, which I think is hilarious, because I tell stories and I say jokes, and like it's not like a haha kind of like SCTV night or something like that, or stand-up comedy night. It's not that at all. I just like lighten the mood in between songs with that, and I like to keep things like pretty loosey-goosey and just kind of very natural and organic in the show. And then I'll be playing electric guitar actually instead of the acoustic guitar, so it'll be a bit more rockin'. It's a later show. Like I'm playing it around 11, I believe.
Great.
So yeah, I think there'll be a little bit more rock than folk in the folk rock spectrum, and just trying to connect with people. And I've only been to the Foundry once before. I've never played there. So
it's a beautiful room.
I'm really excited.
They got a really good sound guy, so cool. You'll be well taken care of. It'll sound brilliant, and I think they generally draw a decent crowd.
Great.
So it should be a great night.
That's awesome.
And
very
if you're listening, you can finish. This plays at 11. Finish up the Sonic Blender. Enjoy yourself, and then head on down to the Foundry. You'll be all set.
Yeah, and say that you heard me on the radio, because I'd love to to meet people that are listening to me. Oh, that's right.
Now you're going to play a couple of songs for us in studio.
I would love
tonight.
to. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What would you like to start with?
I'm going to start with the first track off of my new album. It's titled Shadows, and it's funny. People ask me where I get inspiration to write songs, and this song, I was kind of just having a pity party at my house, and I was texting a friend of mine who I was in Edmonton and they live in Calgary, and I was just like, I just feel so uninspired, and I haven't written a song in a while, and I don't know if I'll ever write a song again, blah, blah, blah. Feeling sorry for myself. And my friend just said, you know what, stop texting me, close your computer, don't do anything, pick up your guitar and write a song right now, and I want you to send it to me by the end of the night. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a really fun challenge. I like challenges. Yeah. So I wrote this song, and then I sent it to him, and he was like, this is good. I was like, okay, great. I passed whatever
One
test.
One song in the bank.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I've it's probably, like, out of the songs that are on the album, it's probably one of the newer ones that I had written before the album came out or was recorded. So it is still, like, not fresh, but it is like a fresh reminder of where I was right before I started recording this album. So
okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, here's Shadows from Lindsey Walker.
Thanks. I locked myself in our room, even though you and I don't live here anymore. I lit a match, I watched it burn down, 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 down. I poured some gas on this rocking chair and dressing gown. And I know too well I made some enemies, and I can never tell when good things come to me. But all I see are the shadows of lovers left behind. I left a note in the ashes. All I wrote were the lyrics to another song. And I know too well I made some enemies, and I can never tell when good things come to me. But all I see are the shadows of lovers left behind. Shadows of lovers left behind. You'll find me in a year, hiding out in a mess of blissful memories. Nowhere to run. I got this pistol loaded where shots ring out. There is nothing left to talk about. And I know too well I made some enemies, and I can never tell when good things come to me. But all I see are the shadows of lovers left. All I see are the shadows, they keep following me. All I see are the shadows of lovers left behind.
Nice.
Thank you. Thanks.
I feel like I need to clap after live performances, but it always sounds sad. It's just this one guy, yeah. Anyway.
That's okay. The clap, it fills the room. How about that?
Yeah.
So that
To get a clap machine, a little applause
That's
machine
right.
or something on the back. Yeah.
That would be even more sad, I think. Though, just like hearing like a
Listen
stadium
to all these
applause.
people.
Yeah, right. You're gonna have people lining up out the door to like come and hear like live performances, and you'll be like, "You can't. None of you can come in. I'm so sorry."
There's no room. There's no,
Right.
We will overheat and I'll die.
Exactly. We don't want that. We don't want that.
That was great. That was a great
thank you.
song. That was a
Thanks.
good
you.
challenge.
Yeah,
Thank you to
really,
your
though.
friend for making you do that.
I know.
Making you write that song.
I should give him writing credit, but I have not, and I will not.
Motivation credit.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Awesome. What's next?
I'm
You have
gonna play
another song planned?
Yeah, I'm gonna play a song. So this song was a semi-finalist in the Canadian Songwriting Competition in the adult contemporary category, which I also think is a very interesting genre because I don't really know exactly what that genre is. You know,
kind of like post-punk that way.
Post-punk.
It's just everything else.
Right? Yeah, exactly. If it's post-punk, it means it's like after punk.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's kind of noisy, but sometimes not. But it's, just whatever we want to do.
It's just like old.
That's what punk was.
But
that's what we're doing now. So don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Adult contemporary. You're over 18, and it's written in the last 5 years. Okay, adult contemporary.
Exactly, right? It's like, so much adult contemporary out there. It's so strange. But yeah, I was really honored when I was, I guess, chosen as a semifinalist. I don't really know how that stuff works, but it's strange and wonderful because, to have a jury of people that are your peers, like, be like, this is good or this is bad. Like, same with awards. It's just like very strange because it's like, this is something from my heart and this is also something creative. Like, there's no way you could mark this for like a class, right? So I've always found that was a little strange. But that doesn't lessen how I feel about it. I'm very grateful and very honored to be chosen and selected out of all these people. But this song is a song that I wrote after reading about a man in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he had a zoo kind of place. It was a zoo for like amphibians and reptiles, and he loved all of these animals. He cared for them so deeply. He thought of them as like his kids. He's like he wasn't married. He didn't have any kids of his own, and he had his like golden star child. It was an 800-pound crocodile named Cookie. And she was like the crowning jewel. She was like the big attraction. Everyone came from miles around to see her. And she just like sat there. She's 800 pounds. She's not going to really move. Yeah. And she just kind of sat there and hung out all day. And one day there was a man with his 5-year-old son, and they were throwing grapes at Cookie because the dad wanted to teach his son or show his son how fast crocodiles could move. And Cookie didn't like go for the grapes because Cookie doesn't like grapes, and I don't blame her. Uh-huh. And then tragedy happened when the man turned away to go get more grapes, and the boy fell in, and the crocodile saw that. So that was a really like tragic thing and horrible thing to happen. But what happened next really kind of stayed with me even further was that this happened, horrible things happened, and then the owner of the reptile zoo was so like fraught with guilt and with just like sorrow and just feeling this tragedy, but he didn't know what to do, so he went into Cookie's kind of chamber and shot her in the middle of the night, sold all the other animals, closed the place down, and became this like recluse and just like and so it was a really like, it struck me so much. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and just the guilt that must have driven this man to do this, to do something to someone or to a being that was considered like his kid, It just like that just must have weighed on him for so long. And he actually like he died like 20 years later or whatever, but like nobody would talk to him about it, like nobody would look at him, like in the small town they all knew what happened, but they just didn't know how to deal with it, right? And so I just like thought about how we deal with our feelings of guilt, or how we deal with pain within a tragedy and that kind of thing. And some people rise above and some people don't. And this is just a song about someone who didn't. So, so this is a song called St. Petersburg. All right.
Something keeps waking me from my sleepless dreams. It's calling out to me. Eyes that glimmer through seams that curtains leave for me. Like a joke it seems. Shadows follow my every move, but I see you calling out to me. Oh, I'm not half the man I used to be. I'm not him anymore. Don't tell mama I shot your killer. 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 Well, it must have been a dream. Haunting memories of the day before. Life fell away for good. I saw nothing, I just heard screams below. How they did echo. I'll grab my shotgun, my 22. Frightened by this age I knew I'm not half the man I used to be. I'm not him anymore. Don't tell mama I shot your killer. 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 Well, it must have been a dream.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we've got time for one more before we got to get you off to the Foundry and get yourself all set up for your set there tonight. Do you know many of the details about the Foundry? I'm going to plead ignorance here. I'm going to find it though. It's you're going on around 11.
Yeah.
No certainty if there's cover.
I don't think so. No, I believe I'm the featured artist for open mic. So come down and play.
Yeah.
Join. Bring your guitar. Hang out.
Yeah. Open jam. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've heard they're great times. The station manager here often frequents it. Tina Flankoff plays there. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's a good. I love open mics. I love when communities have open mics, just as a no risk or low risk, I guess, depending on your perspective.
Yep.
People just show up and show us what you got. Everyone's there, and generally audiences open mics are they just want to see it. They just want to see you give it your all, and whatever happens, and they're forgiving, and they love it. They love the effort more than anything.
Yeah.
I think that's what I love most about open mics.
It's great, and it really brings like a community of people together, like listeners and local musicians, and from far and wide, I guess, too. But yeah, I'm a huge proponent of open mics. I think they're wonderful things.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so you've got another song for us. How will we intro this song?
Yeah, this song is one that I wrote. That where am I going with this? It's a lot of people ask me after I play the song, like, who is this about? This must be about some one person, and it's not. It's not about one person. It's just it's about a type of person, I guess, or a type of situation when you start falling in love with someone, and you can see no wrong that they are doing, and then you start to see things that are kind of not the most favorable characteristics that this person might have, but you can't help yourself. You still are, falling in love with them or being attracted to them or whatever, and that kind of that feeling of like helplessness, but still with a bit of like hopefulness in there. It's a song that's called "Falling in Your Light."
Awesome.
Yeah, here we go.
Party searching for me. I'm here in the flesh, my heart is lost at sea. And tell me anything, even if it's a lie. Just whisper it over my body, the night is your disguise. me softly, come to me now. No matter the distance, we're lost anyhow. And tell me anything in the dark. All these words you're spitting my way, I know they'll never leave a mark. But every time I hear your voice, my heart capsizes in the night. And every time I feel your touch, I know I have to make it through this fight. I keep falling in your light. And tell the moon not to wait for the tide. I've been here, I've been ebbing and flowing, looking to the sky. And tell your heart just to let me in. All these words you spit my way, leave me with nowhere to begin. But every time I hear your voice, my heart capsizes in the night. And every time I feel your touch, I know I have to make it through this fight. I keep falling in your light.
Sounded so good.
Thanks.
Oh, fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, Lindsey.
Thanks for having me, Greg. This has been really wonderful.
Yeah, safe travels on the last leg of your tour, and
Thank you.
And the rest of the way home. And I hope you have a great set tonight. And everyone, just drop what you're doing. Head down to the Foundry. It's open now. Have some dinner, and I won't take it personally if you skip on the last hour of my show. I'll donate that to Lindsey, and you guys head down to the Foundry, and you're gonna have a great time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks again.